Hello everyone, I'm glad you are here. Welcome back to the book show. Still have 4 or 5 books left. You know, every time I think I'm at about the last 5, I discover another few books which I wasn't on. Yeah, you know, there's so many books in a series, and there's 54 in this particular series. And then, yeah, and of course you're gonna have to talk quite a bit. But anyway, the book we want to speak about today is Code Name Unbutton. And it's a fairly substantial book. It's 408 pages. Very, very interesting because it deals with robot ships or drone ships. And I'll get to that after I explain to you how we got to the code name Unbutton. How did we get to that name? It is, of course, as I always say to you, a code is a code. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, Unbutton by itself, it's got nothing to do with a book unless you know that is the book and that is what we're talking about. And that's the way it should be. It is actually the way it should be. I remember Angelique's people, they would sit in a pizza place and discuss something. And yes, of course, they didn't trust the waiters in all places at all. So you met virtually at different places many times. And there are certain places which they wouldn't go to at all unless they wanted to start a false flag or something or a false trail. I remember there if you drive between Pretoria and Johannesburg on the M1, south or north, it doesn't matter. But just if you go past Midrand, you'll see there's like a bridge over the highway, and there used to be like a place where you could sit down and eat and look at cars going past. Now that was one of the favorite places I would actually go to. But if you go just down the street, let's say you go towards Pretoria, on the left side was a hotel where all the air hostesses and things also used to hang around at the pools. And that made the hotel very popular with a lot of people. I don't know why. But anyway, so that place was ignored like the very devil itself. Why? Because it was said, I don't know if it's true, but it was said that the counter-espionage people was hanging out there, and that's one of the places they would do their honey traps. You'll remember in another video, I was actually laughing and I said to you, well, if you see this black dude with his shades, you know, his glasses, he's got the shades, it's real James Bond glasses. And he's driving an X5 BMW. Yes, black man's wheels, don't you know? I had a 7 Series BMW at one stage, Mohammed. Wasn't mine, but I borrowed it quite often. Great car. Yeah, and you know about BMW, it's also said that the BMW badge is actually goes back to the aircraft engines which were used to make in the First World War, and it actually resembles. It's supposed to be something to do with that and the spinning propeller of an aircraft. Apparently, that's not true. Apparently, it just got to do with Bavaria, where I think um, the first factories were actually created, Bavaria Motorwerken or something like that. Yeah, so anyway, if you see those black dudes and they have a X5 and they all have, of course, KwaZulu-Natal, normally Durban, registration numbers. Yeah, there you go, there you go. That is NIA, National Intelligence Agency, counter-espionage people. As flippin' useless as can be. So useless, in fact, that they had to be reincorporated in a South African Secret Service 2012, and there was a total rearrangement of everything, and then the Secret Service was like the CIA and supposed to work overseas. They had to get involved. They now called the State Security Agency or something, and as secretive as ever, and they had to now get themselves involved with counter-espionage type of things, which is really not a good thing because the spies and the counter-espionage people just don't mix. They don't mix. One has a police attitude, and if you're from NIA, then I have no respect for you whatsoever. No, nothing. No, no. Nothing. You'll have to prove to me that you're actually worthy of my respect. Simply because I'll start asking you about that budget of yours. What was it? 100 million rand or dollars? You know, the one you blew within 2 years. Yeah. On what? Safe houses, you tell me. No, that was actually places for your ministers can have sex with their horse and things like that. Yeah, we know about it. Yeah, we spotted you many times in places where you should not have been. And we also know about your little thingies going on in Fortsburg. Yeah. You know those people you're protecting. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, Unbutton, we're still talking about the name. Have you ever stood on parade and the sergeant or whoever, perhaps even the colonel or whoever is coming down and is having like an inspection, and you suddenly have this feeling of the utmost dread because you might have a button which isn't correctly fastened and polished or something like that. That's a stuff of nightmares actually. It doesn't happen in real life because let me tell you, man, by the time that you are paraded for the colonel or for the RSM or for a senior warrant officer or something like that, I absolutely assure you, you will spend the entire night before, even a few days before, to make sure that your uniform is absolutely perfect. And that includes tying down all epaulets as well as your buttons, everything like that will be tied down. It will be brassed. It will be perfect. In fact, I know about people who failed inspections because a fly came from somewhere and sat down on their pillow. It happened to me. And of course, I have a very unfortunate surname in the sense of Kotze, which in German some people think means to throw up, to puke. Actually, it's Kotzen as far as I know. That's what I want to believe. But it's actually Kotzi, and of course, it's not really my name. The family name is something else, but it doesn't matter, you know, it's a stupid name. You learn to have fist fights from the day you are born with a stupid name. In South Africa, in Afrikaans, you had a thing saying nar pinar kotse, which means to be nauseous, very nauseous, and then you throw up. And then you take my name, you know, I say this in other books as well, other videos. Take the name Koos, which means a piss pot or a chamber pot or something in Dutch. Yeah, man, it's a wonder that I wasn't beaten up more at school. Actually, I wasn't. I was actually a very good pupil, and I had hardly ever any problems. I sailed through, and not much happened. There was here and there an incident, but nothing which I want to talk to you about here. But if you get that feeling and you understand what I'm meaning when I say to you that feeling of dread that something is unbuttoned, then you will understand how we felt. Because in the book, Lucy, the sniper, she actually arrives and she's wearing a NATO army jacket. Now, I don't know if you guys can remember that, but in the 80s, 70s, this was actually very popular. Everybody had one. It was this ex-West German army stock. And it was like a parka. And so it was really warm because in Africa, I can tell you, can get damn cold. Extremely cold. In fact, our uniforms weren't really designed for that cold, especially not our camouflage uniforms. In the South African police, when I started, we were really cold, and you quickly learn. You know, you only say to the sergeant once that yeah, you're cold. Oh, okay, you're cold. Okay, well, tell you what, constable. You see this sandbag here? Yeah. Bring it with your rifle, of course. Let's go for a run. Yeah. And 10 kilos later, are you still cold? No, sergeant. Not at all. Okay. And you're still lucky because he could have actually invited your mates also with to understand what happens to people who are not grateful to His Excellency, the Commissioner of Police, General whoever, for kindly supplying you with a rifle and a nice uniform. and a paycheck, medical, and food at times. Yeah. I get their point. When I became a sergeant, I became exactly like that. Yeah, of course. Next time that you are cold, you may be shivering your ass off, and you might be thinking that whatever manhood you had is now shrunk so far up that you'll never find it again. Sergeant, chaps, how's it going? Great, sir. No problem, Sergeant. No problem, sir. Of course. That's what you want to hear. So anyway, Lucy arrived with one of these NATO jackets, which fits. She's a small woman, and so this thing fitted. It folded about 3 times around her body. And which was worse is she had these epaulets. I think you say that word, yes. Yeah. And these things were flapping around like a whore in Kotze Street in Johannesburg, as my old sergeant would explain to us, the top of his voice. And then later, when you do your counterinsurgency course and other courses and you're a bit more advanced, you quickly learn there is no such thing as loose hanging straps and things on you. No. Sergeant knows what to do with people who look like a damn hippie and is masquerading in the police con units. You are very direct men, these sergeants. You should read my book, that small series, Mean Streets, Life in the Apartheid Police, book 1, 2, and 3. And the Afrikaans one, which is Gewetenlose Strate, Lewe in the Apartheid Polisie. I asked the sergeant once, I said to him, Sergeant, are you a man of God? And so he looked at me and I'm like, what's this guy on about? So I said, no, I'm serious, sir. Are you? He says, yes. I'm actually an elder in my church, don't you know? Well, he actually said, don't you fucking know, but, so I understand. It was like that too, man. And so so I said to him, well, sir, did you not perhaps read Proverbs 28 verse 1? Now, I know a lot of you would know what Proverbs 28 verse 1 says, but in case you don't know, basically in Afrikaans, and I'll translate it to you now in English, it says that slegs die goddelose sal hardloop sonder om gejaag te word. Guys, how do we translate that? Only the wicked shall flee without being chased. Yeah. We were running around a bit that day, and I've got him because he had to either admit we are guilty of something or we are wicked. And so he took the third option, which sadly I didn't think about. Yeah, so we started running with sandbags and rifles above our heads for a couple of miles in front of his Land Cruiser. Yeah, we're being chased. So let me say that to you, that this sight of Lucy with that flapping epaulet of hers, it still drives me nuts, really. I do actually get nightmares about it. Last time she was here, and I spoke to her, then it came out that she was training a couple of people in shooting, because she's an extremely good shot. As a sniper, of course she is. And she arrived at the shooting range, and these are the children of Special Forces members, I understand, former reconnaissance members. And they looked at the jacket. You could see it was bothering them too, man. It was really bothering them. So much so that one actually arrived with, you call it a button. Yes, a button. And actually offered to sew it on for her. Lucy was not taking kindly to that. So in this book, Lucy is walking around with that bloody coat of hers. And it's really working on all of us because we all remember our service days and we all remember what will happen if somebody sees that. In fact, at one instance, we actually ran a war with a Chinese warship, and Lucy goes up to go and fetch something, and when she comes down again, they actually gave her a Chinese military jacket. And the interesting part of this is that military jacket had a rank as a lieutenant in the medical corps on it. So what they were trying to say in the Chinese intelligence way is, we know who you are, we know your rank, and we understand where you come from, and we know why you're here. Sometimes when I say these things, my wife would say to me, normal people don't think like that. Yeah, no. You know what's my greatest desire in life? It's not money. It's not to live long. It's to be normal. Just to be normal. To be just, go to work, go home, kick the dog, do the wife, whatever. I don't know. What does normal people do? I'm not so sure, because there's no such thing as normal, is there? So I look back sometimes on my life and I wonder what would have happened if I refused that phone call, if I said no. But I didn't. So anyway, doesn't matter. So let's talk about what the book is about, now that you know where the name comes from. And also, this was the very last book. I was actually writing this book when I met Rebecca. And I will never forget that. I was trying to look good, man. So I had Lucy, who was also a photographer. I had her actually take professional pictures of me to look better. But alas, I looked like I looked, But anyway, to make a long story short, what's happening here is that Angelique Dawson, our heroine, and two mates, Philslong and Foxtrot later becomes her husband. The entire series is a love story between these two. It's actually quite great. It is actually quite endearing to see the two of them, how they develop into genuine love. And now it goes even after they married. So anyway, now what Angelique wants to do is she wants to capture a drone ship of the US Navy. If you look at the cover of the book, you will actually see that's the drone ship. I think we only have one operational, and we do discuss drone ships, whether we think it's a good or a bad idea, in the book at length. It's a 400-page book, but I will talk about it shortly as well. And actually, Angelique is helping out Chinese intelligence. Now, there are two books in the GMJ series where we write about Chinese intelligence and combined operations with the Chinese. Because most people know exactly all and nothing about Chinese intelligence, even though, should you speak to any American, they will tell you that China is the place where spies the most on them in the US itself. Or is it Russia now? Yeah, well, perhaps Russia. I mean, it depends. Because many of you will say because of a Russia hoax and Russia gate in 2016 caused by Hilarious Clinton. Yeah, you lost, Hilarious. You lost against Donald Trump. Don't know how you're going to live that down. But anyway, you lost. And you started something with a fake file. And from that, of course, came a Russia hoax with a Mueller investigation. And the Mueller investigation could prove exactly all, because there was nothing. And then just the other day, about 3-4 days ago, the CIA actually released a statement to say that they distanced themselves from that report because it was bullshit from the beginning to the end. In fact, it was actually their commander, or the director, and director of national intelligence as well, were actually basically falsified this. Yeah. They got a few tamed people and they wrote a story and they reported it, and because of that, Obama actually authorized the entire surveillance on the Trump team before he was even elected. Yeah. You really thought this wouldn't come out, huh? You're that stupid. But you know what is even more stupid for us looking from the outside? We knew it was bullshit from beginning to the end. And I write about it in many, many books. And the books were written before this, the truth came out. So I was correct. Yeah, yeah. He said, what are you doing about it? What are you going to do to the people who actually started this and cost your taxpayers millions? And not only that, made an absolute idiot of your country. And in more than that, you still have millions of people who actually believe that Donald Trump is an asset of a KGB or something. We don't exist anymore, by the way. As the GRU don't exist anymore. No, no. No, we have other names. Go and find out. Nothing, nothing. You're going to do nothing about it. You're just going to accept it. Yeah, no, no. That's what you're going to do. Wow, it's amazing, guys. It's amazing. It's the same with this Epstein files. We understand now that despite their best efforts, the FBI, that's Clinton, what do I call them? Whitewash bureau or something with contempt, of course. Oh no, now suddenly they can't find any list, nothing. There were nothing. No, no. No, no, Epstein was not a Mossad operation. No, no. They were not blackmailing all these people. No, no. Mm. Well, the good news is this thing will run as much as the Kennedy assassination. There will be books written about it, and people will definitely not believe you, but yeah, they got away with it. Yeah, yeah. Deep state is covering. What a wonderful country, the second beast, isn't it? Read Oath of Evil. I see a lot of people are buying Oath of Evil. I must tell you guys, I wouldn't mind giving you Oath of Evil for free. And with people actually asking me for it, I probably will do it. But normally I don't, simply because when you get something for free, you don't always read it because you don't see value in it, which is why I'm doing it like that. So anyway, drone ships and the Chinese intelligence. Yeah, they are based actually on the old GRU, military intelligence, which is much better than the KGB, by the way. Much higher rated, or used to be in the old days, still are probably. And most people don't really know much about them, except of course that they spy in America. Yeah, well, you people don't spy in Beijing, do you? No, no. Every now and then there's a whole bunch of spies actually executed by the Chinese. Yeah, yeah. Like these people now being executed in Iran. Why? Because Israel, hello, listen to me. You blew your spy networks there for what? For a failed operation. You got your asses kicked. Was it worth it, guys? Was it worth it? Uh, no, of course not. Of course not. Wasn't worth it. It was stupid. But anyway, carry on, carry on. I don't care. It's not my circus. But anyway, the country which actually spies the most on the US is not the Russians, by the way. It might not even be the Chinese. In fact, most reports will tell you Israeli intelligence, Mossad, is the ones who actually spy the most on the US. Why? I don't get it. You already control APAC, you already control CAFI, or what do you call that thing, CAFI. You already have the US by the shorts and the curlies, or how do you call that when you grab somebody by the crown jewels and you're squeezing? And of course, the big debate is who controls who there. Most people will say the Jews do, but they don't like the Jews. They don't like you. My theory is different. My theory is actually that the US is a country which is controlled by Rome. Yeah, by the first beast, who gets its power from what? From Satan, the dragon. Yeah, yeah, read Oath of Evil. And then you'll find there was a second beast, and the second beast came up right at the right spot, about 1798. That's when it was recognized as a country by the then powerful country called France. It was a Catholic country, yeah, atheist actually. But read Hope of Evil, because if I'm correct, it means that the Jews are actually not controlling you. No, no, you're being controlled by Rome. Catholic system is controlling you, which is controlled by Satan. then we can understand exactly what's going on in that once mighty Protestant country. When we understand, then we have sympathy up to a point. But of course, you won't believe me, so I don't care. I'm going to go on with it. Fact of the matter is, one of these drone ships are in the Mozambican Channel, which Angelique Dawson will definitely consider to be a theatre of operations. And she definitely will not allow people to just operate in her theatre. She just won't. And where she does, it's normally combined operations. Or it is like what I explained to you in another book, well, quite a few books, but in another video, where the CIA is concerned, or MI6, is they are rated so low in efficiency and rated so low in anything and everything, but it's actually not worth our while to even kill you. No, no, it's the old doctrine of Napoleon. Let them carry on. You know, make one mistake after the other. I'm not gonna point out again all the mistakes. You can go and look at the videos, read the books. You're not good. In sub-Saharan Africa, you're quite pathetic actually. And so the Chinese are quite clever people, and they move into Africa big time. Let me tell you, the West, you've lost Africa. It's gone. It's over. You can threaten, yes, Daddy Trump. You can threaten the BRICS nations with your tariffs. You can threaten the black countries, African countries. You can look down on them. Yeah. I think was it Trump who said he doesn't know where's Lesotho or Swaziland or something like that. Yeah. Well, you know, when your 4 Green Berets died at Niger, none of your senators could actually tell us where's that country, North Africa. No? Yeah, go and search for it in North Africa. I wish you luck. It's not in North Africa. You don't know these things. You really know very little. You know, it's actually astonishing. I'm actually getting people who's going to talk about in the main show, the Legacy Conversation channel. I'm getting people who's going to talk about the role of the CIA in Op Savannah, where South Africa invaded Angola, which has become independent of Portugal. In those turbulent times, a lot of people were killed. The white people had to flee down south, and where they were actually taken care of. And so South Africa invaded on behalf of the US as well as African state leaders. And then, of course, South Africa got dropped. Yeah, you have to wonder if it wasn't a setup in some way. I personally think, but this guy said he will tell us about the role of the CIA in that operation, and you're gonna be in your head in shame because they were pathetic. But you know, there was a time when the CIA actually had first choice of the best men and women. You know, it's amazing. I mean, they had these professors at all the elite universities and other campuses and places where they could actually recruit the best people. But those times are long gone. They're long gone because in the 1990s, this is my theory, but I think I'm right. You know, the good people left, and then the LGBTQ, whatever, they started coming in. They started bringing their own people in, which is not to say they're bad spies, not at all. Not even to say they're bad people, not at all. Your problem is you cannot operate in certain countries when you're like that. You just can't, because not everybody think you're cute. You go to an African country and you walk with your mate holding hands and kissing each other in public. They're going to find you disgusting, mate. Whether you are or not, besides the point, they're going to look at you like in disgust. They're not going to want to work with you. But they definitely would want to work with a Russian who arrives there with, you know, a whole crate of vodka and he's a man's man and he's got 2 pretty women here on the side and he's busy with both of them. He might even offer you one. Yeah, that's the type of thing which is gonna work in certain countries. I'm just saying, and then you got an over-reliance, of course, on signal intelligence, which will bite you in the ass. Really, you're not that good. And you're scared. You're extremely scared. Oh, shame. Really scared. Yeah, so Chinese intelligence is totally unknown. And in this book, we do look at them and we look where they come from and how they are trained. And it is really amazing. It's amazing how well trained they are. I said in another video though that the Chinese agents, even though the females now are very, very attractive women, if you are into, if you find Eastern women attractive, and I don't want to get into a debate whether they are or not. I mean, it's just certain men will not fall for that. They would like a big bosom, blonde girl, blonde woman, and others won't. I mean, for me, I find a blonde woman actually not attractive at all. I mean, it looks like a damn ghost coming at you at night, man. You have to almost shoot her just to be sure. But anyway, it's each for his own. But the best looking spies what I've actually seen was North Korea. They quite good looking, as well as well, the South African version is okay. The ones was just but ugly, man. You can't get close to them. It's not the Germans. No, 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 no. English. MI6. Oh, oh. Oh man, they're really not attractive people. But anyway, the drone ship is there, and basically these two Chinese agents wants to get onto that thing. They want to basically plant some kind of a virus or something into it. So the drone ship is one of those things which they say might actually change naval warfare forever. At this stage, it's not, but it might. The idea of it is you have a fairly substantial large vessel. There's no people on it, so there's no crew. And then you will send it in and it will act as a protector for other ships, or it will act as a spy vessel gathering information. And it can defend itself because you can arm it with, say, remote control anti-aircraft cannon or missiles. We might have a missile on board, anti-ship, whatever. That's the idea. Imagine a drone which is on the water. Your problem here is that they have almost none of these ships, and you really need a lot to be effective. Okay, we're still in the testing phase. There's also other drone ships which came out, of course. It looks like little motorboats, which is basically just a suicide type of motorboat. You just steer it into a ship or a bridge. We saw that over the Ukrainian-Russian war, which was brought to you by who? NATO, yes. Expanding east, yeah. Did you not say you will not move 1 inch? Not 1 inch. Did you not say that? Huh? Yeah, you did. And then, of course, you'll say to me, but it's not in a contract, it's not written. Okay, I'm an attorney. Let me educate you for free here. Let me tell you something. In most legal systems, a contract does not need to be in writing, doesn't need to be signed. You know that. Normally, it's only signed when there's paper involved. And paper is only involved when there's transfer of property. Yeah. Why? Well, because there's a central register, it's called the deeds office, and there's deeds. And this thing has to be in paper so that third parties can be aware of it. Oh. Yeah, so if I'm a honorable man, an officer, and a gentleman type, which of course I'm not, and I say to you, well, yes, handshake, good. Let's shake on it. You think there's a contract? Yes or no? Of course there's a contract. Did we sign anything? No, we didn't sign anything. So you gave your word. Your highest diplomats gave your word. You said you won't move east. Yeah, that's you, the west. NATO. And what did you do, NATO? Tell me, what did you do? Oh, we moved. We started moving east. Yeah, I said west just now. I meant east. I was thinking of it from the Russian viewpoint. Yeah, so you moved up all the way to the Russian border. Yeah, great. Buffer states. Have you ever heard of such a thing in your life? Probably no. You're an idiot. No, you don't. Now you have little chihuahuas there, like the small countries there, Finland, places like that, Sweden. Oh, shame. And they are part of you now. And Poland. Oh yeah, very arrogant people. And they hate the Russians. And whether they shoot or not doesn't matter. But the fact is, they're trying to get you into a war with these people. Yeah. Only the country with the most nuclear warheads all aimed at you. Only the country will have actually hypersonic missiles and things who can shoot the hell out of you and you can't defend yourself. Yeah. I don't understand the way the West is thinking unless it is the second beast, guys. I have to come back to it all the time. Let me just say to you that a drone ship is a vulnerable ship. It is not something which can really defend itself. It depends on you being awake and being able to know what's going on around that ship by using your sonar or your radar or whatever, as well as, whatever radio intercepts or things you have. And then from some station far away, you have to control this thing. It's very vulnerable. It just does not have the human capacity, even with AI, to really defend itself or to make decisions. And of course, when it starts shooting, the time will come when it's entirely automatic, but right now there must be a human being behind it. Which means that you will go the same bloody route as that you went with your drone strikes. 96.5% of the time you will kill what? The wrong person. Oh, yeah, brilliant. So they are very vulnerable actually, and I wrote this book because I've heard of this operation, where it happened. That certainly did not happen in our waters. It happened somewhere else, but that's what I was told. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But it's really not difficult to take a ship like that. To get away with it is a bit more difficult. And in this book, I actually explained to you how we worked out plans, how we could actually approach this thing, and how we could actually penetrate it. Yeah, but you'll have to read the book to understand what I just said. I'm not going to give that away to you. People say to me, I spoil the book because I talk too much. So let's talk about USS Greer. You know, just in our time, in the last year or two, the US Navy got defeated by the Houthis in Yemen, where they were trying to force open the Red Sea or someplace, and also try to force open the harbor towards for Israel, because the Houthis decided, rightly or wrongly, that Israel is committing genocide in Palestine. Again, I don't agree with the genocide story. I do say they're committing war crimes, definitely. But genocide, no, I wouldn't go that far. And therefore, the Houthis was the only actual tribe, Arab tribe, who decided to do something about it. And so they decided they're going to launch missiles not only towards Israel, they're also going to start sinking ships, which has something to do with Israel, whether they went to their ports or whether they are registered under the Jewish flags or on the Israeli flags, they're going to sink it. And they said they will leave the rest of the ships alone. Yeah, and they did. As far as we know, they did. And then the US Navy arrived. First they had under Joe Biden. They also had some Brits, of course, there. There was one German Navy frigate, which I believe almost shot down the Allied aircraft. Wouldn't be surprised. Something happened there. They tried to cover it up, but we know there was some kind of an incident. And then Joe Biden, under his command, then it stopped because they just couldn't. They were bombing the Houthis, but so what? Bombing never wins a war. Hello? Wake up. It doesn't win a war, ever. Don't say to me that two atomic bombs, because I'll just refer you again to Eastern Wind or Eastern Storm or whatever they called the invasion of Manchuria by the Russians, by the Soviet Union. Yeah, but most of you don't know what I'm talking about. Whatever. Or is it August Wind? Something like that, August Wind. Anyway, so the atomic bombs didn't stop the war. It didn't end the war. It played a role, definitely, but it didn't end the war. It's the same that the US will learn. They learned in the Houthis, they definitely learned it doesn't help that you kill and murder tribes people. You remember that picture with Donald Daddy Trump? Yeah, that's what NATO calls him Daddy. Oh shame. Stop. Remember when he posted it here, there's these tribesmen standing in a circle there, like doing one of their tribal things. Next moment comes the US missiles, kill about 90 of them. And Donald Trump is like, yay, look at us, oh, we were best. Guys, I don't know what the hell went wrong with your country. It's sad. It's sad. We used to look up to you. Not anymore. Hold you in utter disgust and contempt. Cannot help it. No, no. You go and kill 90 innocents. You brag about it. Then you find out you're an utter idiot. You don't apologize. No, no, no. No, you just carry on. Yeah. Why? Because you're arrogant. Why are you arrogant? Because you were second beast. Why else? Uh, uh. Anyway, and under Joe Biden, they had to withdraw, and then came Trump, where this incident took place, and now they really gotta know. You know what? The problem here is they didn't bomb him enough. Yes. Now we gotta do it properly. Oh yes, so we did. And what? 2 months later, it cost him what, $1 billion, 57 or something drones shot down. These Reaper drones or drones, Reaper drones or what do you call them? Yeah, all of them got shot down. It's fascinating to me, that thing used to cost about $4.8 million in 2010. And about 3-4 years later, it was $16 million. And today it's $50, 50 million, $50 million. So it went from $4.8 million to $50 million in 10 years. That's how you do a war, my man. That's how you make yourself rich. Yeah, yeah. Missions of death, huh? So to make a long story extremely short, the US Navy then had to beat a very hasty retreat. They had to get the hell out of Dodge City because Houthis almost sank a aircraft carrier. In fact, it had to dodge so much that they lost 2 aircraft overboard. They actually shot one of their own aircraft down, so that's now number 3. And luckily, thank God, the pilots could eject. Okay. And another one they shot at as well. I think that might have been the German Navy vessel, but that was jammed or something. But so we didn't actually shoot himself. So they were acting on behalf of Israel, fighting a war. The US Navy was fighting this war in the Red Sea and other places on behalf of a different country, in this case Israel. Of course, I will say to you, no, that's not true. No, this is for freedom of navigation, man, don't you know? I recall when Trump just took over, he was in the first time in 2017, he made a statement that there's a Russian spy vessel just off their coast, but still in international waters, and they were pissing themselves as much as you remember that balloon, that weather balloon which flew over America, and they couldn't shoot it down. They had to try, and then they actually got it shot down. Oh, shit. What a pathetic attempt. Do you know that when 9/11 took place, they couldn't scramble a single aircraft because they didn't have any on standby? Did you know that when they eventually scrambled the aircraft, they had no weapons aboard? Do you know that? Do you know they actually ordered the pilots to ram those hijacked aircraft? Ram it. You don't know these things. Okay, it doesn't matter. Trust me, it happened. And so we were fighting a war basically what for the international community. That's what they would tell you now. We have freedom of navigation. We would open the seaways for the rest of the merchant ships. But the rest of the merchant ships were not under threat. The only ones under threat were the US intervening and the Brits, was a little chihuahua, And then of course the Israeli flag to Israeli whatever linked vessels. They were the ones under threat. Oh, nothing else. Nothing else. Mm, mm. So it's bullshit. Let's cut the bullshit, guys. Let's cut through the chase. You were fighting on behalf of Israel. Yes, that's what you were doing. You were also, when Iran started bombing Israel in retaliation for that attack, the Pearl Harbor attack on Iran. You were also helping there, as did France, as did the UK, as did Germany, once again. Yeah. Yeah, we know about these things. Don't think we forgot about it. But in the Second World War, guess what? US Navy was actually fighting the war against Germany without a declaration of war before. Let me repeat that word, before. Before it happened. Before Pearl Harbor took place. And even then you couldn't attack Nazi Germany because no, it wasn't Nazi Germany who attacked you. Hello? It was Imperial Japan. And why did they attack you? Must I explain again the 8-point plan, the boycott on oil? You were begging them to attack you. You were placing your fleet at Pearl Harbor to be attacked. Must I explain it again to you? Huh? Okay, well, go and read the books. Wake up. Wake up. So Germany actually declared war on you. Yeah, you were so happy when that happened because guess what? A few months before Pearl Harbor, you met with Winston Churchill, that arch liar, you know. That guy who said there's nothing after death. Yeah, of course for him there's nothing. Definitely not. Druidic priest. 53 degree Freemason. What about FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt? What about him? 53 degree Freemason. Interesting, huh? Interesting. Satanic organizations, those, you know? Yeah, interesting. Who came up with the name of the United Nations? You know, up to then you had the League of Nations. Who came up with that? Well, the history books will say to you Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Brilliant man, you know, brilliant man. In fact, it was Winston Churchill who came up with that name. But let me tell you the duplicity of the US Navy. And they were acting on the orders, illegal orders, because there was something called the Neutrality Act. Neutrality Act says we're not going to get involved in the wars in Europe. No. We got caught out in 1917 with, with a Zimmerman telegram. Yeah. And you got caught out and you sent your boys to go and fight in the First World War. You got absolutely zero out of it. So you decided, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to just we're going to sell weapons and things. We're going to build weapons. And we're going to take all the cash of the British Empire and then we're going to break them. And you did. And do you know that was predicted? That was part of a plan written by that great occultist. You know, the guy who wrote Morals and Dogma. Yeah, I'll put a picture for you here. Yeah. Albert Pike, Confederate general. Spoke 16 languages. I'm sure 3 of them was with Satan. Yeah. He wrote in his book, and other writings of which we have. He wrote about the First World War, the Second World War, and what? The Third World War. Was going to start where? In the Middle East. You see how all these things are adding up, guys. That's why you really need to read Oath of Evil. Because I do mention these things in the other books, but in Oath of Evil I took everything and I threw it together. From the Bible. You have to actually read it. So anyway, what happened was there would be these convoys between the US and the UK, and there would be U-boats intercepting them, and in certain places where the Luftwaffe could reach, they were there as well. And of course, the Royal Navy was fighting back as much as it could, which wasn't much. And from that came Aztec sonar, that came from there. Well, it was before the war, but it really became an art. And then also airborne radar, which started with Coastal Command. Yeah, not you, the US. Hello. No, started with the Brits. Let's give him some honor here. So anyway, to make a long story short, the US Navy then started engaging the U-boats. And the USS Greer, I hope I say it right, Greer, Greer. I'll see if I can find a picture for us. What she was doing is she was tracking the U-652, that is a U-boat, a submarine. And then while she was tracking this thing on a sonar, and remember in those days we had active sonar, so the submarine would definitely know she's been tracked, because we can hear it. It's not a ping noise, I'm told. It's more like a grrr noise, like a chain which is dragged over metal. I'll ask a submariner if I can get hold of one. So anyway, while it was now tracking the submarine, it was messaging, it was sending radio messages to the Royal Navy. And then the Royal Navy actually arrived with aircraft and they started bombing the submarine. Yeah, hello. And then this German submarine started shooting at the USS Greer. Yeah, they launched torpedoes at her. That, by the way, was the first known shooting by US forces on US forces by the Germans in the Second World War. And it happened 3 or 4 months before Pearl Harbor. Interesting, isn't it? And was it a war crime? Do you think it was a war crime for this German submarine to shoot at this neutral? Can I say that more sarcastically? This neutral US Navy ship. Think it was a war crime? Because some of you say it was. No, according to law, no, not at all, not even close. In fact, if you read Code Name 19, we discuss this very incident, and we also look at U-boat war crimes. And let me tell you, there's only one instance which we know about. It's a guy called Heinz Wilhelm Eck. He commanded U-boat 852, and in March of 1944, he sank a ship called SS Peleus. Hope I say that right. 4,500 tons, a Greek registered ship. He sank her, and it broke apart. It sank within 3 minutes. There was a lot of debris was floating around, as well as wooden rafts and things. And according to this Eck, he was scared that aircraft could see it and then track him down. So he and a few of his mates decided they're going to sink the wreckage with hand grenades as well as machine guns. And he testified at the Nuremberg trial that he saw the killing of the sailors on the wreckage as collateral damage. Collateral damage. You hear what I said? That's what he said. As an attorney, I'm flippin' shocked. It's the most shittiest of excuses I can think about. And of course, the Nuremberg judges did not agree with him. And so he was sentenced to death. Also, what didn't help him much, he and his mates, is that he sent the normal watchkeepers, the junior enlisted men, he sent them below, and he's got his Chabas up to come and help him shoot and kill these sailors, who's now wrecked and therefore should be actually rescued by the laws of the sea. And only 3 of the 36 people on that ship actually survived, but that was enough. The shooting went on for 5 hours. Now, guys, if you want to sink something quickly because you have to get away before the aircraft can actually see the debris, don't you think you should take a bit quicker than 5 hours? Huh? Yeah, of course. So indeed, he was talking nonsense, and so he was executed at Nuremberg. His second in command was executed, as well as the ship's doctor of a U-boat. It's not a ship; it's a boat. Actually, was also executed, and there were others who protested the order, and they were still forced to go ahead. They got 15 and 7 years each. Of course, they never served that long, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's the U-boats. Do you think that happened in the Royal Navy? Do you think that the Royal Navy would do such things? It's a senior service, you know. Well, if you read Code Name Alphabet 32, where I actually discuss these allied war crimes, you will find out there was a Navy submarine of July 1941, HMS Torbay. Yeah, they did the same, exactly the same. What about the US Navy? You think the US Navy can ever do such things? Yeah, of course. Go and research the USS Wahoo. Yeah. You know what's fascinating about the Torbay and the Wahoo? In the Wahoo, the commander actually later he died. He died during operations. He didn't make the end of the war. He actually got the Congressional Medal of Honor for his work during the war. And do you know that the commander of Torbay, but not for that particular horrible incident, that war crime, he actually got the Victoria Cross. There you go. You know, in 1988, I think there was a short war between the US Navy and the Iranians. And the US Navy kicked the hell out of the Iranians. Yeah. I have to read my books to know about that. But at the same time, around about that time, the US Navy shot down a commercial aircraft. I think it was a Boeing. Might be an Airbus was flying. The Iranian one, they shot it down. Yeah, why? 300 and something people died. Yeah, yeah. Why did they do that? Let me explain. Because the US Navy actually believed that was a F-14 Tomcat. Because Iran, of course, flies the F-14 Tomcat. And the F-14 Tomcat, as I said in my book, Code Name Unbutton, is one shite aircraft. It's really not a good dog fighter. It's really bad. Very bad. But it doesn't matter. They had their radar signals and things wrong, and they just shot it down. And all those civilians aboard just died. Of course, I think Iran shot down a Ukrainian airliner as well during one of the attacks on them a few years ago, and they apologized in public, and I'm sure they paid compensation. Well, the US also paid compensation after many, many years, almost decades of fighting about it. Instead of just manning up, it made a mistake, apologize. Can we sort it out for you? That is the manly thing to do. There is no disgrace in saying you're sorry. Huh? You're a coward is the one who can't say he's sorry. Daddy Trump, are you sorry? You're sorry for all your lies and all the lives you've cost. Huh? No. Perhaps he is. I hope he is, actually. I do hope, but I doubt it. Guy who says he's a Protestant and we found kneeling in a Catholic church in front of idols. Yeah. But the Bible says you shouldn't do. Yeah. I have the pictures. Let me post them for you. He's too weak. He's too weak as a man to say sorry. You know, guys, it's amazing. But what is even more amazing is the commanding officer of that US Navy warship. It's called the Vincennes or something. I can't even say the name. Vincennes or what? Silliness. Let's call it silliness. He got a medal. Got a medal. So what do you find out here, huh? This egg fellow got himself executed. As far as I know, he never got a medal for sinking that ship. Torbay, and again I say to you for other operations, Victoria Cross. Wahoo, also including other operations, Medal of Honor. Yeah. There's something wrong with you, really. Don't you see it? So anyway, so what happened is just before Pearl Harbor, the US Navy started engaging the U-boats because they then started escorting their ships all the way to about, I think, Greenland or Iceland or someplace. Then the Royal Navy would arrive and take over and escort them further. And I can really say a lot of these things, can really say a lot of things. Now, of course, the German U-boat who started launching at the USS Greer, then said, well, look, I thought it was one of these Lend-Lease destroyers, which everybody knows. The US gave Britain the Lend-Lease destroyers. Everybody knows about it. It is held up as this wonderful, what do you call it again? What do you call it? Special relationship or what? What do you have with it? Yeah. I'll call it a special ass-licking one, but whatever. It's just me. I'm not an officer, I'm not a gentleman, so yeah. Yeah, your special relationship. But guess what, guys? Those Lend-Lease destroyers, those ones who was given in to the Royal Navy in 1940, how many of them were operational? Tell me, how many? How many do you think? Not a single one of those Lend-Lease destroyers were ever deployed operationally. Why not? Because they were so old and so screwed and so effed up they couldn't. No. It was a paper thing. Looks very good. Everybody knows about it. Practical value? Nothing. Zero. One of them was actually used on the Saint-Nazaire raid, also known as Operation Chariot on the Normandy dry dock. Remember that one? Yeah. It was actually the old USS Buchanan, then rechristened as HMS Campbell, and he tried to modify it to look like a German destroyer, and this thing then came in and it rammed that dry dock, and then the entire ship was basically filled with explosives, and then it went off and it blew the dry dock until the 1950s. Now, I'm not actually going to speak about the actual ship, Normandy. You can go and read in the book about it, the story of the mafia, and later the OSS, pre-runners of the CIA. Very fascinating what happened there. Actually burned down, I think, in New York Harbor. Yeah. Then they rebuilt it. Yeah. It was an ocean liner. But you can read the story yourself. And by the way, with all the damage which the Campbell down or the Buchanan did when it exploded at the dry dock, the actual damage wasn't done by that. The actual damage was done by the Commando Special Forces, who actually went below the ground into the engine rooms to open these gates. That's which they blew up, and that is where the actual damage occurred. So yeah, you could have done it without the Campbell, and most of the people who participated in that raid got captured. Some got executed, and I think more than one Victoria Cross was issued, very deservedly so. So that's the only ship ever of the Lend-Lease destroyers which was used. Yeah, fascinating the things which comes out. And anyway, then Roosevelt appointed somebody called Ernest King, who was an admiral. I think he was a 5-star. He became the Atlantic Fleet commander. I think he was one of the 5 stars. There were 8 of them, I believe. You should be able to mention them by name if you were a US citizen, but most people can't. And he was a brash guy. He had to be assisted. He had to get wings as an aviator. According to the reports which came out later, which I read, he was actually put through. There's no flippant way he could land on a carrier unassisted. He could fly. I mean, most people can. If you put somebody in an aircraft, you'll be able to go straight up to a point. But landing, fighting with the aircraft, no, he could never do that. Nevertheless, he did qualify, so I'm told. He was a brash guy. You know, he said when they get into trouble, they send for the sons of bitches. He said that at his appointment, yeah. So he considered himself to be a son of a bitch. And, yeah, I wouldn't call my mom that. Bless her soul. And his superior was Admiral Harold Stark, who was the chief of naval operations. And he said something. And remember, guys, once again, I want to say to you, this is before Pearl Harbor. There's the Neutrality Act. You are a neutral nation. You're not. You're fighting this war on behalf of Britain now. Behalf of British Empire. And then 80 years later, what did the US Navy do again? Oh, you start fighting on behalf of what? What Israel? Anyway, Admiral Stark said, whether the country knows it or not, we are at war. Yeah, Admiral, rest in peace, sir, you're 100% correct. Also note that by July 1941, this is a couple of months before Pearl Harbor, right? This Roosevelt, he gave a shooting order. He said the following. He said the presence of any German submarine or raider should be dealt with by action looking to the elimination of such a threat of attack on the lines of communication or close to it. Open shooting order. All right, what's he saying? Here's a ship sailing. There's a raider, which is a merchant ship, a Q ship, which is, looks like a merchant vessel, but actually have guns and things on it, or it might be like a pocket battleship, or whatever, as long as it's German. Or there's a U-boat. Okay, guys, if you find them close to any of our convoys or our ships, you can eliminate them. How do you eliminate a ship? You shoot it. You shoot it, you sink it, you launch at it, whatever, you attack it. So we were looking for war. They were not neutral at all. They were nothing neutral about it. So in 1941, September now, so this is about few months after this thing of Roosevelt, Admiral King gave a general order. He said, destroy hostile forces that threaten shipping. 4 days later, the USS Greer incident took place. There you go. Cannot blame the USS Greer's captain. He was following orders. Were they legal orders? No, not at all. Not at all. He should have refused it, but he didn't. And it seems to me in those days there weren't as much leaks as today, and so most of the people wouldn't even know about it. So anyway, this king wanted to fight. He also said the following. He started saying things like, as Admiral King, whatever we do, I'm anxious that our first real shooting contact with the enemy be successful. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you can throw the first punch and you can down your opponent, then you have a moral operant, Not morally, but moral. Different. He says, particularly, I would like to get the Tippet, that's a battleship. If that opportunity comes our way, early victory would breed confidence and be a wonderful stimulant. True, Admiral King, very true words, warrior words. I respect you, sir. But you're not at war. Hello? You're not at war. You shouldn't be saying these things, giving these orders, if you're not at war. Do you get what I'm getting at? Well, probably not. Probably not, because for most of you who lives in this jingoism type of idea that we're the best, and you have the exceptional, we can do whatever we want. You will not understand what I'm telling you now. Actually, you're a bunch of pirates. You've reduced the US Navy, that wonderful organization, to a damn bunch of pirates. It is amazing. And then on 15 October 1941, again, this is before Pearl Harbor, you are still neutral. And you stayed neutral until Germany declared war on you. Why, US, did you not declare war on Germany? On Nazi Germany? Why didn't you do it? Because you flippin' couldn't, because Germany wasn't attacking you. They were attacking the British vessels, British convoys, which you were escorting. So you were placing yourself in harm's way. Why don't I hear our historians say these things? Huh? Why don't I read this in the books? Victor write the books, of course. So anyway, then India in October, 15 October 1941, two other incidents happened. The USS Kearney was almost sunk by two German torpedoes, same story. Because they started tracking a U-boat, they started getting arrogant, and the U-boat actually sank me. Well, almost sunk. They just made it to a port in Iceland. But 11 sailors died. Yeah. They died before the war, madame. Your children died before the war. That's not to say your husband, he was killed before the war. Neutrality Act. Yeah, you don't even follow your own laws, man. How can you expect the rest of the world to follow your what? What do you call it? Law-based order or what? Something like that. Yeah. Then 2 weeks later, this is the end of October now, 1941, again before Pearl Harbor, the USS Reuben James is actually sunk. 115 US sailors now dead. Yeah, same story. They were tracking this U-boat and they were sending blaring out their positions on the open waves, airwaves, so that the Royal Navy can come and sink them, and guess what happened? Yeah. And then you created something called Task Force 14. But I'm not going to go into Task Force 14 if you know what I mean by that. I congratulate you. Otherwise, just read the books. So you see, it's the same thing. They're going to probably use these drone ships of theirs as a type of a trigger. Like we're doing with US personnel based in Iraq and other places, where they're trying to get Iran to attack one of those bases in return, or the attacks on Iran, and then US sailors or army or whatever people actually die, and then then you have your reason for war. It's not a Christian nation which acts like that, is it? It's really not a Christian nation. It's amazing what the US has become. Anyway, do you know anything about Operation Catherine? Well, if you don't know, it's in the book. That was something which Winston Churchill came up with to do with a Royal Sovereign class of battleships. Actually, that's what the art liar called them, but in fact, the real name is Revenge class battleships. Anyway, he wanted to send this to Sweden, I believe. He wanted to send them in there. They would have been sunk, all of them. That's your damn problem in life. If you are like trapped, like the US Navy was in the Red Sea, or any place where you can't really maneuver, and you're against a peer country, I really hate it whenever you hear these analysts. You know, if we ever get against a near peer, okay, because according to you, there is nothing equal to you. No. Everybody else is a near peer because you are the peer, and therefore you cannot say these people are actually at the same ranking. So you will not fight a peer enemy in the sense of the same quality, not that you have any, or the same manpower or weapons. No, no, it's near peer always. You still live in your bloody dream world that you're actually leading the world military-wise. You don't. You just don't. Read American military might debunked and wake up. Read my books and wake up. I'm warning you because I care about you. Yeah, I'll be like for RSM, you know. I do care about you. Up to a point. The best army in the world right now is Russia. That's according to your own analyst. The second best, according to them, and I don't agree at all, is the Ukrainians, but I will rate them quite high on the list. You people don't even feature them, and you know nothing about modern warfare. Nothing. And you don't have a weapons. You don't have a weapon systems. You got nothing. But let me explain life to you. The moment that you meet a near peer, can I say that more sarcastically? It seems like this video is for me to trying to be sarcastic. And I don't even like being sarcastic. In fact, I would never speak in court like this. I would never speak to my wife like this. But I'm fed up. I have to be honest with you guys. I'm so fed up with this nonsense I see in the West. I'm totally fed up with you. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter what it's like. I can't say that to you because I'll be using F words and all sorts of things. I don't want to do it. If you ever meet a near peer country, or a peer country, or even a superior country, they're going to track your carriers. And you don't have battle groups anymore. You don't have a vessels for it. No, you don't. You have strike groups. And guess what? If your carrier is sunk, and it bloody will be sunk if you take on these type of enemies, then there's not enough escorting vessels to pick up all your sailors, those who might survive. Yeah, you don't have enough vessels around them to pick them up. Do you know that? No, probably not. Do you know that, like in the 1950s, that a bomber will always go through? You remember that in history, the bomber will always get through. And he did. The missiles, the hypersonic missiles, they're always going to get through. You're going to have losses. Do you understand this? You're going to have losses. Do you understand that during the Second World War, the first thing you did with your carriers, you were removing the paint in the inside? Why? Because it's a fire hazard. Do you people actually on your super carriers cost $13 billion? Oh, I must be impressed. Why? Why must I be impressed? You can build that thing for probably $5 billion, man. But it will burn and it will sink. And then what? What you gonna do then? Drone ships. What I've heard, and that's why I wrote the book, is to warn you, is yes, they did actually got onto the drone ship. But they got onto the drone ship and they put whatever they had in it. Which means that theoretically they can actually now turn this drone ship upon you. Yes, they can turn that robot. What you gonna do then? What about Iran? Iran captured quite a few of your drones. I'm talking now a few years ago. In fact, my late wife Melissa said to me that certain drones are not even allowed to fly in the US. Why? Because you're so flippin' scared that they have been captured and turned that they might be shooting at your own people. Yeah, that's the reason. Yeah. You cannot really replace a human being when it comes to judgment. AI is not there. You might think it is, but it's actually a program designed to spy on you. It's a program designed to give you certain impressions, not facts, impressions. In other words, it will analyze you. It will see that you're a conservative fellow, because no liberal or demo rat or something should ever read my books. You're going to get a heart attack. Please don't. Please don't. Not that I care, but I don't want you there on my conscience. We're going to find out you're not a liberal. You're actually a conservative fellow. And then the internet, with the AI and the rhythms, they're going to feed you more and more and more and more. You want to test this? Guys, you've all done it before. Go search online for a Volkswagen car. And suddenly you have all these ads. Oof, Volkswagen cars, all of them. I think it's by chance. No, it's not by flippant chance. It's going to be even worse. And the next big thing which we're going to control you with, I think it's in Oath of Evil where I discuss that as well, but perhaps I should make a special episode, is blockchain. Why blockchain? Because absolutely everything you do online, and there's blockchain involved, is going to stay on your record. That is why they so much want Bitcoin and that type of payments. Why? Because they can control you, and they will control you. It's going to happen. Bible said it. There's going to be a time which you will not be able to buy or sell. Of course, you will be able to. It will be on the people like me, who's Sabbath day keepers. Yeah, you don't like us. It's fine. Fine, I don't care. We love you too. Okay, so that's the book. That is Code Name Unbutton. It is basically to capture a drone ship. They use a very unique method to get onto it. That's what I it was actually used in the real one too. And they did succeed in the real one too. That's what I was told. And we discussed really a lot of other things there as well. It's very fascinating, these books. Also, because in a book, to make it a bit more difficult, I said there might be a US Navy nuclear submarine around to keep an eye on that drone ship. And guess what was the answer from the operators and the spies? They said, so what? They said, so what? Why? Why did they think that's bullshit and they don't care? Why? Well, if you read the book, you will quickly understand why, because there's nothing that submarine can do. It doesn't have a decon. It doesn't have people who can shoot. Even if it has people who can shoot, and I've got, and I definitely will have an anti-tank missile or two with me. Yeah, surface, see what I do to you. Can you torpedo me? Well, you can try, but I'm in a small motorboat, man. I don't think you're going to hit me. No. Or I'm in a small vessel. No. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. You can do nothing. Surface, okay, let's say I don't shoot you out immediately, but I will. But let's say you surface and now you launch your rubber ducks. You're going to storm me now. Oh, I shoot you dead long before you get even close, man. Oh, you'll be dead. Yeah. Leave your end. What else can you do? Call an aircraft. Yeah, like you did with USS Pueblo, where North Korea, where you didn't call aircraft or they came too late or whatever and the ship was captured. Not going to repeat the story again. What about that ship which is really sank in 1967? USS Liberty. Yeah, what about that? When they bombed it and strafed it and shot it and well, it didn't sink completely, but I think 57 US sailors died. Do you know the pilots actually were speaking? It was intercepted. The pilots were speaking to each other and to back at headquarters and say, but there's an American flag on this thing. We can't attack it, and they got the orders attack, and so we did. We know about US Liberty. Yeah. And do you know that there was actually an aircraft carrier close by, and they did launch aircraft to go and assist. Yeah, think about it, guys. Yes, here's a US Navy warship. Not much of a warship. I'll show you a picture of it, but it's there. And they start shouting, guys, we're being on attack. These Israeli jets are attacking us. Israeli Air Force are shooting us. And here comes the carrier. He says, right, we're going to help our mates, man. That's what we do. And they launch their Phantoms, I believe. Not sure it was Phantoms or F-14s. F-14s, by the way, was first used very close to Vietnam with an island or something where they're also trying to rescue people. It is in one of the books. And by the way, the F-14 fighter ace of all time is Iranian. It's not a US Navy person. I want to say so. But anyway, so I think it was President Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson. How many people did you kill today? How many babies? The US president then directly intervened and told the US Navy to turn their jets back. Yeah. And so these US sailors, they died. They died. You know, I think of great fondness of the US Navy for many reasons which I don't want to reveal. And it's the only organization standing between a land invasion on the US soil. The only thing. It's the only one who can prevent that. So the US Navy is actually of extreme importance. It's more important than the Army, and it's a lot more important than the Air Force. And yet, where are you now? For every one ship you build, China can build 280. You couldn't even win against the Houthis. No shame, she's toch. What are you going to do against a near peer country like China? They've got the missiles, they got the Navy. Go and read Code Name Lucy. Yeah, you'll be surprised what comes out. But for now, guys, see if you can read Code Name Unbutton. It's available online at Amazon, paper, hardcover, softcover, audio, as well as Kindle. And that's it. That's the book for now. God bless until we meet again.